Idaho Matters podcast is brought to you by St. Luke's On Demand Virtual Care, which allows patients to see a provider from their home using a computer or smartphone with on demand care for common ailments such as a cough, sore throat, or a sinus issue. More information at stlukesonline.org. More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudet. This summer, journey through time and uncover the stories etched into Boise's buildings, from the evolution of North End Apartments to the transformation of Boise State University. Preservation Idaho is bringing back their ArchWalks series, providing a lineup of guided tours to explore the rich history of Boise architecture. And joining us today to walk us through this year's lineup is Brittany Scigliano. She is president of Preservation Idaho's board of directors. Brittany, it's really nice to have you back on the show.
Yeah, Emma, thanks for having me again. It's always a pleasure.
So, for folks who might not be too familiar with Preservation Idaho, Brittany, kind of give us a little bit of information about your organization.
Yeah, so we are a statewide nonprofit. We are 53 years old this year. Started back in the 50s by a couple ladies who, were just, I think, really concerned with some of the demolition that was happening, particularly in downtown Boise at the time, and started
Hmm.
Preservation Idaho as an opportunity to highlight some of Boise's really historic buildings and architecture and the stories behind those buildings. And so we have, for the last 50 plus years, continued to carry that with our work, in showing some of these buildings, the stories behind them, helping to get people connected with good contractors, working on local historic districts, working with partners throughout the state to show the economic value of preservation and the good stuff that it does for the state. Cultural and heritage tourism is a big thing in this state. We're seeing that grow, and when we all travel, we like to see some of the historic places, and Boise is no different. So we have been working diligently for many years to keep that going. We've received no federal, state, no ongoing funding. We rely purely on membership and donations, and we have a really great membership base and people who support us. So that's why we've been able to stick around as long as we have.
So, talk to us about the ArchWalk series this summer and what this is.
Yeah, so we're really excited to bring these back. We've been doing these for several years, and it is, it's a highlight of one of the sort of our walking tour programs that we offer throughout the year. And we do five in the summer. They start in May, so May's tours are done, but we will run through September this year, and it's not too late to catch June's tours. But we rely on docents who are experts in their field. They put these tours together, they do the research, they come up with all of the information. And each of those tours we offer 4 times a month. And so it's an opportunity to look at some of Boise's history. Maybe you've walked by it, maybe you've wondered, what does this sign mean? Maybe you're new to Boise, and what is the history of Boise State, which has it has a long and rich history from its inception. So it's an opportunity to delve a little bit deeper into some of the things that maybe you've walked by or you've seen, or maybe things like our apartment tour that you have never even thought about before. So it's a good way to get that verbal and visual history given by our docents.
And Brittany, each tour is different, right? So, can you talk a little bit about that? Because you do, as you mentioned, Boise State. You have one of these Arc Walk tours that really is around the history of Boise State, correct?
It is, yeah. So we have 5 tours through the summer. So May, June, July, August, and September. And each are given by a different docent. So May's tour is done, and that was of the newly remodeled assay office in
Hmm.
downtown Boise. The next tour that's coming up is by Zoe Scuderi, who's doing the hand painted signs of downtown. So we have a lot of new artwork on Boise's buildings, but we have a lot of historical artwork as well. So she'll go through all of that and the history behind it, the historic lettering that's been used. And then in July, we've got the apartment tour that's given by one of our board members, Doug Stan, who's a teacher at Boise High as well, and delving into the history of Boise's apartment buildings, and why they were built where they were, the history behind them. In August, we do have a tour of Boise State by Emily Fritchman Mahaney, who's a historian and the history teacher at Boise State. So diving way back into the history of when Boise State was a municipal airport, which I didn't even know.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
what is fascinating to see. Now we are literally known worldwide for our blue turf. So, and then in September we've got Barbara Perry Bauer, who is a historian as well, doing a tour up on Overland and kind of delving into the architecture that from the 30s to the 70s. So a big span of architectural differences in that time period. So each one is different. They are never repeated. We do have a new program where we're trying to capture some of it so people can kind of go back in time a little bit. It's a program we just started this year where we can memorialize those. But once the tour itself is done, that's it. It never comes back. So we encourage members and people who are interested in preservation to jump on these tours because it's a one-time only deal.
And I think, Brittany, you brought up such a good point about, the history behind so many of the buildings in Boise that I think sometimes we take for granted. And I have to say, the other day I was up at the top of Table Rock, and there is a picture up there, and it was at the corner of 8th and Bannock, and it was from I think about 1900 or so. And I'm looking at it and I say to my husband, I'm like, this building's still there, this building's still there, this building's still there. It looked different because it was, 1900, but
Yeah.
still the same as it looks today. And like, why do you think it's important that people, understand that and don't take it for granted? I mean, because I think we have a really fascinating skyline.
We have a beautiful skyline, and in the midst of Preservation Idaho, we're not at all opposed to development. Development is going to happen. It's
Mhm.
good for the economy. It's good for housing, but we are proponents of keeping our history. And each of those buildings tell a story. Each of those buildings offer, we say the most affordable house is the one that's already existing, and even some of those commercial buildings offer tenants. Boise is really known for its startups. We have a huge startup population here, so I have small businesses, and it offers those startups an affordable place to do business as opposed to some of the new construction. And several years ago, when we acquired the new East Main Historic District in partnership with the city of Boise, my daughter was allowed to testify, and I think she was 9 at the time, and she out of the mouths of babes, but so very eloquently said, people don't want to just read about them, they want to see them. And it's so true
Mm.
because when you see these buildings and you learn the history, you have a much deeper connection than if you just see a picture of something that used to be there. So it's about, a lot of it I think is about providing a connection to our city. And, whether you're new, whether you're fifth generation, if your roots are here in one way or another, this helps to give you a sense of place and give a sense of home.
What has been the response from folks who have gone on these ARC Walk tours in the past as well? I mean, because this isn't the first time you've done these.
No, we've done these. I don't know the exact number of years, Gemma, but it's been a long time. And they sell out almost every year. We do still have some tickets available for this year's tours, but we have, we have people on repeat. We have people that we know will be there every single Arc Walk season. And
Hmm.
it's always nice to see them and to have that appreciation that they have and know that what we're doing is still important and still impactful for them to come back year after year. But we love having new people also because it's a way for us to share our history with people that may not know it. So it's always people look forward to them every single year. We get asked early in the season, when do tickets go on sale? What does the tour look like this year? And we are fortunate enough to have those docents who come back year after year and put these really incredible tours together.
I think you brought up a good point, right? That Preservation Idaho is not against development and not against new buildings and things like that, because as you said, it helps grow the economy, all of those things. Well, however, there is something to be said about physically preserving history. Uh, so, what kind of role does community involvement play when it comes to preservation efforts?
Community involvement is huge, right? It's as a advocacy organization, which is what we are. I mean, we do some hands-on work too, but as a large advocacy organization, we really rely on the community and membership to support us when we're looking at doing things. For example, we've got some of the federal budgeting, and some of that federal preservation money has not been released. Even though it's been approved, it hasn't been released. And so we have been reaching out to our membership and people statewide, saying, reach out to your elected officials and let them know how important preservation is. And with new construction and economic development, there's still a space for historic structures to mix in and have the
Hmm.
same a slightly different economic impact. But we know studies, we can point so many studies. Historic preservation is a huge economic driver for cities, and it helps employ craftsmen that, if we don't keep these craftsmen around, we will soon be dwindled to about nothing. So it's important to keep those skills and those people around, and the appreciation for what was built, the people that built this state.
So, Brittany, before I let you go, if folks want to see these last tours, where do they sign up?
Yeah, so preservationidaho.org, which is our website. And if you go to events and tours, you'll see the ArchWalks listed there. Of course, our May tour of the assay office is done, as well as the June tour of the historic signs downtown. But we still have space in the July tour of the apartments, as well as the August Boise State and the September Overland Road. So space still available. I wouldn't delay too long because tickets do sell out. And there's still plenty of tours to get on. Tickets are $10 for members and $12 for non-members. And we always encourage membership. So yeah, jump on there and snag those tickets before they're sold out.
Well, as always, it's such a pleasure to chat with you. We've been talking with Brittany Scigliano, president of Preservation Idaho's board of directors, talking about their 2025 Arc Walk series taking place this summer in the city of Boise. I'm Gemma Gaudette, and this is Idaho Matters.
Planet Money helps you understand the economy. We find the people at the center of the story.
Garbage in New York, that was like a controlled substance.
We show you how money influences everything.
Tell me what you like by telling me how you spend your money.
And we dig until we get answers.
I had a bad feeling you're going to bring that up.
Planet Money finds out. All you have to do is listen. The Planet Money podcast from NPR.